Up everybody, how are you doing? It's your boy Codeine. I'm just showing off all the magic fun I have picked up recently. Gonna talk about why I did it, what it's for, and we're just gonna casually talk about life in the meantime. We need to get to 1,000 subs. If you don't mind subscribing, only if you enjoy the video, of course. I'm trying to get to 1,000 so that way I can start getting paid. Other than that, that's my e-begging out the way. First and foremost, I got another copy of Winding Canyons. I don't know if you're new to the channel or not, but I have a copy of Winding Canyons in my Ululek deck. If you don't know, this is a reserve list land. You can pay 2 mana and tap it, making essentially 3 mana, but until end of turn, you may play creature cards whenever you play instants. That makes it so if you have infinite mana, let's say, or a metric ass load, if you will, you can play an Eldrazi with a powerful effect, a Titan, and then you can cast another Eldrazi while it's still on the stack because it has flash, and then you can copy the stack for as many times as you have 2 mana with Ululek's ability, giving you infinite copies of the stack if you had infinite, or just enough to win the game. So for that reason, I bought this land. I think that this land, as it comes into play untapped, granted, it makes colorless mana, which isn't the most helpful in 5-color decks, or, more than 3, really. But I think it's cool enough. I think it exists. I think the fact that it can go in any deck makes it worth playing. I think it's a good card to pick up right now. We got Beseech the Mirror. I actually started getting into a Rugrak Silas deck. It's not a CEDH deck or anything, but it's a polymorph deck. I'm excited to make the video for the channel to sort of show it off in the deck tech. I just need to pick up some more cards. I don't like playing with proxies. That's my own prerogative. I tried it, some videos I'm flagrant about it, if I'm using that word correctly, and I talk shit, but I'm not going to this time. If you're a grown man or woman, that's your business what you do. I don't care what you do. I don't. But I got this Beseech the Mirror for that deck. It's pretty self-explanatory. Rograk, you always have it in a vacuum with no downside to yourself. So you can, but I mean, it's a token creature, so what am I talking about? But you can Beseech the Mirror, and with one of your Mana Rocks or Bitter Blossom tokens, you can get Polymorph. And since Rograk is 0 mana, you can immediately Beseech the Mirror, sacrificing anything that you can, and then you cast Polymorph on your Rograk, and it just becomes like adding another Polymorph in your deck. Granted, a little harder to utilize, but maybe not. And so it's just super good. Counterbalance, I like Counterbalance in that deck just because it has a lot of low to the ground, sort of middle ground mana costs in it. Yeah, it has like the big cards in it, the expensive Jin-Gitaxiuses and Jin-Gitaxi, Void Winnower. It has expensive cards in the deck, but they're few and far enough between that I think just in a general play style of the deck and it having like Mystical Tutor, I want to get a Vamp Tutor for it. It doing that, I think that having the Counterbalance in the deck is just fun. And plus I play Power Balance, so I just kind of wanted to play both of them, sort of shoehorn it in. Speaking of the same deck, I'll tell you when we switch decks. Valgavoth is also for that deck. Just super awesome creature that I wanted to make useful. And, if you can't make it useful getting like a turn 2 or 3 polymorph in, then it's probably not good enough. Most people lose if you stick a Jin-Gitaxius around for a turn cycle, so it's definitely not as good. You could probably increase the strength of the deck by taking out some of the creatures that I'm choosing to put in it. In terms of like Valgavoth, you could probably just have Jin-Gitaxius, but I want the deck to be cool. I want it to be cool above all else. The end. Now, I have a mono black deck, Shieldred, the True Scriptures. I have the serial numbered version with alternate art. Check out that video if you'd like to hear me talk about that and why I bought it and all that good stuff. So that deck is supposed to be my casual deck. It does good coherent deck things, but at the end of the day, it's mono black. It seems good until you play against something that you don't really get a chance to do anything about, mostly enchantment stuffs. But other than that, I just kind of buy cards for it that are generally good and like maybe fit that mono black synergy kind of thing. Kirk being a perfect example. He's just a generally good creature. You know, all the spells in the deck are black except for some of the colorless ones that made the cut. And very fun, very cool card. It's pennies too, so I love that. Alcazat's, this version of it, I think there's another one. But, you know, just attacks and discard a card or draw a card. And sometimes you get bats. And then when he dies, most importantly, you transform him into Temple of the Dead. So you ramp. You know, it's just sort of generic good creature. Ramps. Hard to hate. It has lifelink, so I can play all the good black pay life cards. Call it a day. Meat Hook Massacre 2. I still don't have Meat Hook Massacre 1. Because I'm broke. But this card is cool too, you know. It's got a neat effect. It's for that deck. It might be a little steep on the mana cost of making it worth it. And I don't like how it's a player instead of opponent. You know, you can obviously play around it in your own world. And the Shieldred True Scriptures deck isn't really like a creature deck. You know, your commander stars and technical difficulties, but you know, that's all I really had to say about Meat Hook Massacre card. Just a cool, generally good card. Fits the casual kind of thing we got going on. Wildfire Awakener, I got this for a Balin the Haymaker deck. I'm putting that deck together slowly and surely. That's another one of my more casual decks. I just think it's kind of will be fun to play. And will also be strong enough to do its thing. Because I don't want any decks that are so casual that they just fucking suck and don't do shit. You know, but you know, if I'm playing Balin and you don't, you know, wipe the board one singular time while I'm playing, then that seems like it's on you, not on me. But yeah, it's, you know, it's probably one of the best deck cards you can put in Balin. It just, you know, creates a bunch of elementals as convoke, so you can use your existing tokens to tap it if you'd like, and you know, whenever they become tapped, you deal 1 damage, so you can create all these even though they don't have haste. Then you can tap them with Balin to draw cards or make mana or whatever you freaking want, and they'll deal the damage to the player. So that's always nice. Flare of Denial. I haven't really shown the deck on the channel, but I'm putting together, even though the deck is going to be like $50, you know, like an Edric Spymaster of Tress deck, and this is probably it's probably adjacently good to Force of Will in the deck, because the game plan is to play a bunch of small, tiny fellas, attack people with small, tiny fellas, draw cards, extra turns, rinse and repeat. If somebody tries to do anything about it, free counter magic. You know, so it'll be a very interesting. It's an interesting deck if you've never seen it before. I can imagine it gets old. It's repetitive play pattern. You know, just play small guys, draw a shitload of cards, counter spells, take extra turns until you win. But it's neat if you haven't seen it before. So I plan on making a deck tech with that. It's a neat deck. I like it a lot. It's probably one of the first decks that I built that was like really strong. It was probably the strongest deck I had for a long time. Planar Genesis, I bought 4 copies of this. Nothing too spectacular. It's cracked Impulse. I mean, it's Impulse, but fucking insane. It must have for any green-blue deck. Honestly, just you could jam this into any commander deck that has green and blue in it, and I probably wouldn't disagree. Unless it's like a hyper creature-based deck or something like that. But in any deck that plays like normal and is not like super weird, then Planar Genesis is as much must keep. It's Impulse that if you want, it can ramp. So insane card. I bought 4 of them, you know, putting them in practically everything I want. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. This is a card I wanted for a really long time. They've reprinted it into the ground recently. Really just tanked the value on it, and I'm super happy because I love this card. I think it's super awesome and super cool, and I haven't really got to play it now. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, all these cards, including the Planar Genesis, even though obviously I can't play all 4 of them. This is for my Emoti Celebrant of Bounty deck. I have that deck tech on the channel. I have the serial numbered Emoti. I have that deck in real life. It's not a Moxfield thing. I put my money where my mouth is. I try to, at least. And yeah, I'm finally happy I get to play with this card. I kind of forgot about it for a while. It's been cheap for a long time now, but you know, with things, I've just been kind of putting it off, not buying it. Blah, blah, blah. But I got one now, and I got the perfect deck for it, so we're good. Ugin the Spirit Dragon needs no introduction. It is super good and super cool. Awesome card. Excellent in Super Friends decks. Excellent in any deck that creates copious amounts of mana. You being able to exile, board wipe, just permanents, and just lightning bolt the shit out of smaller creatures. Absolutely cracked. Super good card. It is probably the best Planeswalker in all of Commander. Probably not even close. You can argue the Master of Time one, that can be at instant speed, but even then, it's just like, is it better than this one? Or is it just a Planeswalker that's usable in Commander? You know, you got Narset, Parter of Veils, Master of Time, and Ugin. Those is kind of the trifecta of Planeswalkers when it comes to Commander. It's just, there's not a lot of them to choose from, but Ugin really cleans house when he does. I got a Coma, Cosmos Serpent. If you've seen the Emoti deck tech, I really made that deck like an Eldrazi deck. But since I have the Ulalek deck nowadays, I thought it'd be a lot cooler and probably weaker to make the deck more like Simic instead of Ramp plus Eldrazi. So I wanted to make the deck more generally Simic and generally, you know, just stronger, lower the curve a little bit. But it's super, I'm trying to just make it a Simic deck rather than an Eldrazi deck that happens to be Simic. You know what I mean? Everyone knows what you mean, but yeah, so this card is super good. You know, its effect is very slept on. It's at each upkeep, so by the time it's your turn again, you'll get 1, 2, 3, and then a 4th one with Summoning Sickness, so you'll have 3 ready to attack Comas if it just survives 1 turn. It being indestructible, doesn't dodge Swords to Plowshares or Deadly Rollick, 2 of the most, you know, prolifically busted removal spells in the format, but dies to removal, lol, you know. But being able to tap permanents and they can't activate the abilities, especially if there's something very scary in play, like a Planeswalker especially, or like Godo's banned because Wizard sucks donkey ass. But like a Godo kind of creature, you can really keep it locked down and them not doing anything, because you'll get 4, you get as many coils as there are players. So if there's just one super big threat and you don't want to activate it ever, you can do that. It's just locked down forever. Can't be countered. I forget about that sometimes, but super nice when it's nice. Speaking of Coma, I got the new one from Foundations. This is the only new card from Foundation I've purchased yet. I got mine for about $6. I don't know if it dropped since then or went up since then. I have no idea. I bought this before Foundations came out, but it's what's up, man. It's nice to have it. It's all good. You know, just can't be countered. The other Coma is probably stronger in Commander. Probably is, but trample is a good keyword on big creatures. Makes so they don't even want to block. Ward 4 is a lot of warding. It also can't be countered. And fun fact, I don't know how fun of a fact this is, but the tokens that World Eater creates are called Coma's Coil. Well, they're called Coma's Coil, so it's the same token. So hopefully that reduces the cost in friggin' the token, because I like to own tokens. I like to buy tokens because it feels official. It feels cool to have the token. But holy shit, dude, I'm not paying $5 for a fucking token. I'm sorry. I try to, I support people in the community by buying their shit. I try my best to. But it makes it easier for opponents too. It's like when you have the real token, because they know what colors it is. They know exactly what it does, blah, blah, blah. Even though you can get pretty good fake tokens, or, replacement tokens or whatever. You know, you can write it down on paper. But I just like to have tokens. But holy shit, fuck, I'm not paying $10 for a token. You have me effed up, dude. You have me effed up. And then last but certainly not least, I have Blightsteel Colossus. This was a card I've started playing in about 2016. I really started getting into it like 2017, 18. But this is a card I never got to own because it was so expensive. I thought it'd get reprinted a bunch. It never did. And I finally own one now. It's pretty cool. It has kill potential of a player. Essentially, you know, you attack someone with no blockers one time and they die. So essentially it has to be blocked. But even if they block it with something with 2 health the first time, you attack them again, they gotta like block this motherfucker. They gotta like throw everything under the kitchen sink to block this bastard. You know, super cool card. I love the design of this card. I love how it feels like an expensive card. You know what I mean? Like, it's 12 mana. And that's the thing I like about Magic, is that the expensive spells in relation to the cheaper ones, most of the time, I mean, inherently, you can't play a deck with like 24 or 12 cost spells, no matter how much ramp is also in your deck, because it won't function. So cards will always primarily be cheaper by nature of the game itself, but Magic does a good job at making expensive cards feel powerful. So he's has to be one of my favorite creatures of all time. I love him so much. I'm so glad I finally got to own one. I'm super blessed. And so yes, for Emoti also, it's going to replace one of my Eldrazi Titans in there. So I'll probably redo that deck list. So I'll just go through all my cards real quick. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you guys watching. It really helps me out, man. Just has something fun to do. I love making these videos, even though I don't get paid or nothing. They don't get the most views in the world, but maybe that'll change one day. Not that I strictly do it for views. It sort of breaks up my day, and you know, I like to do it, man. It makes me feel real good. But like I said, I hope y'all enjoyed it. See you next time.